Hackerspace, also called a hack space or a maker's lab or a hack lab or also a creative space. These little communities are attracting builders and inventors, tinkerers and the continuously curious, and all these people come together and they solve problems. It's a community of problem solvers, and it's an amazing thing. A good example of a problem they solved involves 3D printers. If you're not familiar with a 3D printer, it's a spectacularly amazing device. Using a computer file, it creates or prints a 3D object. It uses a polymer or a plastic depending on the model. But imagine the implications of such a printer. It's no wonder they cost $20,000, or at least that's where they start. It climbs steeply after that. The people at the hackerspaces decided that this was a very important tool and everybody should have access to it, so they created their own. They took the object, they took it apart, they figured out how it worked, and they built their own for $750. The hackerspace is a global community, and so as soon as the plans were created and successfully tried, they were then shared with everybody, and soon everybody at all of these hackerspaces had 3D printers. An amazing thing happened when one of the hackerspace labs discovered that changing a gear improved how well the 3D printer worked. It made a big difference, this gear. And when they found out how important changing the gear was, the person who invented it took the computer file that they made, a file of a 3D image, and they sent it to as many people as they could. And those people sent it to people that they knew. And it eventually went to everybody that had one of these 3D printers at the hackerspaces. And all they did at the hackerspace then is print that file using the 3D printer. It created the gear that they needed, and when they were done, they took the 3D printer apart, took the old gear out, and replaced it with the gear they had just printed out of thin air. How's that for amazing? That's science fiction. And speaking of science fiction, that's exactly what the hackerspace community is working on right now. It started in Germany, but the way they share their plans, it's spreading globally. A German hackerspace organization is putting together a space race of their own. Apparently what was the realm of the US and the USSR in the 1950s and 60s is now fair game for anybody. And what are they doing? They're actually creating a satellite that will be used to broadcast the internet without any government interference. And after they get one of those launched into space at some point in the future, all the other hacker labs around the world will have the plans they need to duplicate that until there's a web of communication around the entire globe put up independently by people who are just very curious and like to tinker. How's that for amazing?